one mistake that is very easy to make as a JavaScript developer. So this mistake is thinking that an empty object is a falsy value. So you might want to do something like this. Here on line 12, I check if not object. So this is saying if my object is falsy, then console.log, my object is empty. And then here on line 16, I check if object, and that's checking if my object is truthy, console.log, empty objects are truthy. And what you're going to see here is that even though this is an empty object here, it still evaluates to truthy within JavaScript. It is a truthy value, even if it's empty. So if I run this code here, what you're going to see is that I get empty objects are truthy because it enters this statement right here, and console logs empty objects are truthy because empty objects in JavaScript are truthy. And this can get you in trouble if you try to check if some variable is falsy and you try to do some null check. However, an empty object, it doesn't evaluate to falsy, and this can lead to bugs in your program. So how can you check for an empty object within JavaScript? Well, I think that the best method here is to do something like this. So here on line 22, I use the object.keys method. And what this method does is it takes an object as an argument, and you can use this object.keys method within your programs for free. You get this overall object that you can use for free within a JavaScript runtime. And you can access the .keys method and pass an object as an argument to that method. And that is going to return an array of all of the keys of whatever object that you pass into it. So I can then access the .length property on the returned array from the object.keys method, and that will tell me, does this object have any keys, or is this object empty? And I can check, okay, is the length of that returned array 0? If that's true, it has no keys, and that is an empty object. But if that is false, then it is not empty. So if I pass in my empty object here, what you're going to see is that I do indeed get object is empty because it returns an array with all the keys. But if my object has no keys, then the length is going to be 0 and it is an empty object. And just to show you here, if I add one property to this object here and then I run this code, it's going to return an array with a length of 1 because it has one key, and then it's going to say not empty on it. So that is a common mistake in JavaScript, is thinking that an empty object is a falsy value. It's actually truthy, but I think that using the object.keys method, passing your object to it and checking the length is the best way to check if an object is empty or not in JavaScript.